is Damon. I'm here with Frank, Russ, and Dylan as
What's
always.
up?
Chris is this week, not the cup 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, he was not at the NARC convention. This week, he'll be at the NARC convention. So, Chris, if you're listening, if you're watching, safe travels to
Thank you for your
the
service.
NARC convention. Thank you for your service.
You too, Russ.
Typically, when I start the show, I give a quick rundown of what we're going to talk about. But honestly, I've been thinking about this a lot. We go off the rails quite a bit, so I'm not even gonna give a rundown of what we're gonna talk about. We're just gonna talk about
We're shooting the shit, boys.
yeah, that's what we do. So honestly, if we talk about anything related to football, we did our job. we did it, even if it's in the last 10 minutes. So yeah, how are you guys doing?
Fantastic.
Awesome.
It's a great day.
Besides the new Purdue Pete.
Yeah, the that new logo. What do you guys, Dylan? We kind of know what you think about it, but Russ, Frank,
What do you mean?
guys
My
think?
rant on Twitter really gave that away. Matt, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. I'm very disappointed. It's cartoon Pete. It's Caillou Pete. It's Bob the Builder Pete. It's I don't know. I don't like it.
Yeah, it is very cartoony. It's very
it's just a Disney Channel. It's really Mickey Mouse. That's a good way to put it. It's a really Mickey Mouse Pete. It's too Disney Channel for me. Pete, we love Pete because Pete is terrifying. Pete has those big eyes that stare into your soul, and that's why we like our Purdue Pete. So when you give us this Mickey Mouse Pete, it's a slap in the face to Purdue Pete and all his wisdom. And I could go farther, but I won't.
Well, so I had a similar reaction to. So I live down here in Jeffersonville, Indiana, and we recently started getting new street signs that are, instead of like every other town almost, that's green with white lettering. All of a sudden now we have black street signs with white lettering. And it's like, what? Why? I mean, it's been the same for however long it's worked, but somebody got paid to do that. Somebody spent taxpayer money to do that and like put all this effort into something that didn't even need to be changed.
I remember everybody was real upset when they changed the Welcome to Indiana signs too a couple months ago.
Yeah, those are trash. Yeah.
Well, Russ, I actually rode my bike through Jeffersonville, Indiana earlier today. And while they weren't necessary, those signs do look very nice, though.
Yeah, so it's not quite the same as the Pete because I don't really like the new Pete.
Well, our guy Eric from the Ohio podcast says, "What's up, crazy train lovers? My 3-year-old loves your new mascot logo." See, and that's what that just goes to the fact that I call him a Mickey Mouse Pete. That 3-year-olds love it. 3-year-olds love Mickey Mouse. So it all clicks. It's all
Mickey Mouse Pete. What does Carl think about this? The guy that Purdue Pete, he's probably rolling over in his grave right now.
Dylan, you're right. Purdue is supposed to be scary. He's not supposed to be happy. He's not supposed to be welcoming. He's supposed to be intimidating.
He's a blue collar.
He's the most terrifying mascot. We take pride in that.
That's the point.
We don't need to change it. If it's not broken, don't fix it.
What you want with Purdue Pete is you want him on the sideline. You want an opponent wide receiver going down the field to catch a ball. He goes, "What the hell is that?" Drops the ball. That's what you want in the mascot. None of these fluffy, no. You want a terrifying
So
mascot.
You're saying like if we had that terrifying mascot, but we like made him larger, ballooned him up, if you will, that it'd be really great if we had that kind of a mascot that was a big balloon.
They make this Mickey Mouse Pete, but they won't bring back Rowdy. Those cowards. That's what they are.
Trash.
So okay, what if they just change the logo, like the design right here, but they don't touch like the actual mascot like costume? Because you remember when they brought in Jay Leno Pete a few years ago, back in the early 2010s, Jay Leno Pete, he didn't stay for very long.
Dude, when I first saw the email,
he was terrifying in a different way. He was terrifying.
When I saw that Boiler Bites email, they're like, "The new Pete is here." I said, "Don't you?" I was about to go down to West Lafayette, and I would have rioted in the streets. I would be flipping cars. I would be if they tried to bring back another fluffy Pete. Oh,
well,
I started the podcast all fired up, boys. Jeez Louise.
I think a really good way to describe how enticing Pete is to share the story about how my wife finally got to meet Purdue Pete. When we went down to Orlando for a insignificant football game this past December, Pete was in the like VIP area. And my wife is like, "Oh my God, there's Pete. Always wanted to meet Pete." Now, my wife went to Xavier. She's not a Purdue person on her own, but she is, through marriage. But she's like, I gotta meet Pete. And I'm like, well, is it worth like hopping this barrier, going into the VIP area, breaking a rule to meet Pete? And guess what? We did it. Like that was what she was willing to sacrifice. Whatever amount of trouble she would have gotten in, she was willing to hop over that barricade and walk over to Pete and get many, many pictures with him. So Pete draws people like that. Don't change him.
No, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And Pete is not broken. He is
I think
broken.
I'm okay with it as long as.
Please stand by. Damon's coming in.
This dude's not real. This guy's not.
Damon, you alive? Oh, he's good. We can.
Yeah, there he's back.
You guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I say that if they just change the logo to make them look more kid friendly, whatever. But as long as they don't touch the actual mascots, as long as they leave those alone and they don't bring back creepy Jay Leno Pete or
what do you think ever happened to that suit, creepy Jay Leno Pete? You think they? Just
that's what you need to go look after.
Yeah, no, I would burn it. I would buy it just to burn it.
Somebody probably burned it and then did like a seance, like had their like that ground, wherever it was, just like blessed with holy water.
Morgan Burke probably just threw it away and was like, "Fuck!" Like I tried.
No, so you know that room that has all the Duke mascot sayings in it? Have you guys seen that?
I haven't. No.
I haven't seen that. Sounds
So
creepy.
like the Duke Blue Devil mascot has like different sayings that he wears
on his forehead. Yeah, it's like
and they save all those. Like they when they peel them off, they put them on boards and
Really?
they save them in this room. Yeah, so they save all of those like over the years. So there's probably a room somewhere on campus, some storage facility that has all the failed mascots, marketing material,
and the bowels of Ross-Aid. You just got it.
Yeah, if you walk in there, there's like a sketchy light that flickers on and off, and like so you see the horrified faces.
Or you got to come up with like a backstory that it's all buried under the John Purdue statue, and you have to like step on the right spot for it to open, and then you go find it, and they're all
national treasure.
They're all, it's got to be some real like.
Yeah, you step on the right stone, and then like all like one light after the other flicks on, and they just all land on a different Pete head, like going around in a circle.
Well, Anish from Boiled Sports tweets out a bunch of these old like Pete Pete helmets and Pete heads, and he has he tweeted a photo once of like there's like 7 or 8 Purdue Pete heads, just the heads laying on the ground, and it's terrifying. Have you seen the inside of Purdue Pete's head?
I haven't. Is it?
It's also it's just carbon fiber and 2 eyes. That's all it is. I'm sorry, kids. Purdue Pete's real. If you believe in Pete, I do.
He's real to me.
He's
dang
real
it!
To me, damn it.
Yeah, that's the story. It's like, all right, if you don't eat your vegetables, Purdue Pete's gonna come here.
He will come up in the middle of the night and he will find you.
Oh my gosh. So one of the things that I kind of put out there before our podcast started tonight was just like some quick questions just for people to kind of talk about, if I can find it here. And it looks like so one of the questions I asked was like, if Walters brings anything new to the game day experience, what do you hope that'll be? A couple of people had responded. And of course, new third quarter, fourth quarter tradition was one of the big ones. And then what was the other one here? Isaac Romig, friend of the podcast, said, I already know that man brought the juice on the sidelines at Illinois. So even more juice, energy on the sidelines at Ross-Aid. Totally agree with that. We could use all the juice that we can get. What's this one?
I hope I see him like freak out at referees. That's one thing I like that Brom did, was just, man, he gave the refs the business, and I always appreciate that.
Yeah,
but I hope that Walters can do it in a way that doesn't get us penalties.
True. Yeah.
If he can just like find that perfect threshold, that's like, if I push any more, it's going to be 15 yards.
See, I come up with these crazy ideas, and Russ brings me back like, hey, we don't need 15-yard penalties. Don't wish for
Frank.
That. Yeah,
Frank, Russ, yeah, whatever, yeah.
No, did I say Russ?
Yeah, you said Russ. Who's the old guy here?
Shoot.
Well, just some general updates on football. In one of the interviews with Ryan Walters, he said we're at 39,000 season ticket sales. Like that's
amazing.
Crazy. That's absolutely crazy. Like for a team who has a brand new coach. In December, everyone was saying like, who is this guy? Like we're going to go back to being a 2-win team. This guy's never been a head coach before. Like just amazing, like how good of a job he's done to turn things around that quickly, just to turn the perception of the program around. But 39,000 season ticket sales. I mean, The first time I bought season tickets was in 2013, the prime Hazel years.
I won't call them prime.
Wow,
yeah,
I mean,
I'm just saying, like
existed.
in the middle of the Hazel years, like is what I'm saying here, and like to think about 39,000 season ticket sales is pretty crazy.
Flashbacks.
39,000 people at one game would have been amazing. In that guy's time,
we had like
9,000.
3,900 people at game.
The one thing I do miss
honestly,
about
that's not
those
a
years
stretch.
was the legroom. The legroom during the Hazel years.
It was
awesome,
great,
dude. Oh, it was
well,
we're gonna get back from the Fresno
terrible
State
seat.
game. Dylan's gonna be just complaining about the legroom like the whole game. He's like,
well, now, dude, like
this wouldn't
I love
happen back in Daryl
Ross-Ade.
Hazel's day, man.
I love Ross-Ade, but dog, when it's sold out like that, crap gets cramped. I mean, I am a big fella.
Yeah.
I'm not small, but like, holy smokes, it gets. I had 4 IU people sitting on each other's laps in front of me the year before last, and I'm like non-confrontational to the nth degree, but I was like, hey folks, you mind if you don't, because like none of us have any room back. And I was digging my knees in the homie. Oh, he had to be feeling it, but it's just the way people sit, man. You're real cramped in sometimes.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Another thing Walter said that really has me excited to hear is that there's no plan B for the tunnel. And he made it sound like everything's on track for the stadium with the exception of the south end zone elevator. He did make a good point that the south end zone's never had an elevator and everything's been fine up through this point.
100 years.
So that will not be ready to go by week 1 from the way it sounds. That being said, like they're just starting to put the grass down today, August 8th.
Yeah.
I'm no biologist by any means, but like is the grass going to be ready? Like that's like a big question. But he basically said that they're not even considering a plan B for not having the first game at Ross-Ade.
I trust the grounds crew. I feel like Purdue has really good grounds crew. Is that what they're called? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So that black and gold team down in Nashville that has to play at a high school stadium is not going to be us.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. Man, I feel bad for Vanderbilt. Their stadium is like trash, and they're nowhere near.
I could not think of Vanderbilt. I drew a blank. I was like, team in Nashville, black and gold.
When he first said that, I thought he was talking about the Nashville SC, like the soccer team. And I was like, okay.
No, so you know, one cool thing I think it'd be tradition-wise that I think there's a lot of room for some creativity and to really nail something, really knock it out of the park, is that tunnel intro.
Yeah.
That tunnel intro.
Oh, yeah. There's so much opportunity.
I think that it'd be really awesome because I know a lot of the historic stadiums always have something that you hit or you pat or do whatever, whether it's a rock or a sign or whatever. But I think it'd be really awesome to have like a giant anvil on some kind of like a podium platform, whatever, because you know, Boilermakers, right? So like that we ran by and hit the anvil, or you know, rub the anvil on the way by, or whatever, or like a Pete hammer, or
you
something.
know what would be cool?
Like
I know
Rowdy statue.
How do you make an inflatable statue?
They're engineers. They'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Fragile, very fragile. It's like those Easter chocolate eggs or the chocolate bunnies.
Yeah,
that's like very, you know, like just a very thin outside.
You can't smack it, guys. Yes. Okay.
You know what would be cool? I know that this wasn't even in the plans. At least I don't think it was when he was with us. But Tyler Trent, man, just imagine if there was like a Tyler Trent statue, like of him, like high fiving everybody, like high fived him as they ran out onto the field.
Awesome.
I just got goosebumps saying that, man. Yeah, I think. Well, he doesn't have one. He just has the gate, right?
Yeah, he has his picture on like a
right, where the student section is.
Plaque was the word I was looking for.
That's why when you said somebody's statue, I almost went towards Tiller instead of
Tiller. Would be
Tyler,
one big mustache.
It's the Tiller tunnel,
right.
Like like just a
one.
Yeah, Tiller mustache. That's
one
what it
giant
is.
stash.
You rub the Tiller mustache going through Tiller.
You know
tunnel,
how many times
it's just
my dad got mistaken for Joe Tiller? Like, you know, like almost free meals we got on campus. People be like, Joe. Oh wait, that's not Joe. From afar, bald white guy, mustache, glasses. You're like Joe Tiller. But when we got closer, like, oh, that's not Coach Tiller.
Somebody, I think it was James Knows Ball, said he's like, I just saw an Illinois State and Purdue house divided license plate. I was like, that's got to be Brock Spack. There's nobody else that could possibly be.
So you might have heard this one then, Dylan, being a Tiller fan and having your dad that gets disguised or it's got confused for Tiller. One of his favorite quotes of mine, it was about hair. Do you remember it?
No, I do not.
So he had this quote where he probably stole it. I don't know if it's an original one or not, but he obviously had the mustache, but his other hair issue was he was bald, right?
Yeah.
So he had this statement or comment that he would make where he said that the great Lord only made so many perfect heads, and all the rest of them be covered up with hair.
Oh, there you go.
I like that. I love it. That when you have a mustache like that, him and Coach Hope, like Hall of Fame mustaches, just
Absolutely.
great upper lip hairs on those guys.
So we need to get the graphics department on a mustache for Ryan Walters, Coach Walters. See what Coach Walt would look like.
Walt does need a mustache.
Speaking of Purdue Pete's blue collar Pete that Dylan created, that needs to be the new Pete logo.
It's
with
the only
the
Pete I recognize. I don't recognize, Fluffy Pete or Disney Pete, Mickey Mouse Pete. It's blue collar Pete who has a pack of cigarettes in his pocket, a barbed wire tattoo, a mullet, some sweet mutton chops, and a mustache.
I feel like blue collar Pete probably drinks like Miller's Banquet too. Like
blue ribbon. No, he's Four Loko.
That's what Four Loko. God,
that's how like gritty he is. He just chugs Four Lokos.
Oh my God. Okay, so we do like to break down the upcoming schedule for the football season, and we missed last week's episode. Thanks to Dylan and Dylan only. Is the only reason we didn't. No, I'm just kidding. So we're covering 3 games this week. Russ, I believe you said it was Illinois, Iowa, and Ohio State.
Yeah, so the next game would be Illinois. They'll be coming to Ross-Ade on Saturday, September 30th.
That's going to be so intense.
Kickoff is not announced yet. It's our first rivalry game of the Walters era. The Purdue Cannon is what we fight for. It's what we want to be raising over our heads after the game. But basically, the origin of that is that me and a couple of buddies took a small cannon to Champaign in 1905 for the game that year. We hit it in a culvert. I knew you'd like that, Dylan. But some dude named Quincy Allen and his buddies found it, and then he hid it in his farmhouse for like 40 years in Illinois. And after the World Wars and the rivalry started to get renewed, they were looking for a trophy, and he pulled it out and said, "Hey, remember this cannon that y'all were going to fire off after you beat us? Let's make this the trophy." So it's not very large. It's like 2 or 3 feet in length. But
I think you might have a replica.
Series. The series is led by Purdue, 47 wins to 45 losses and 6 ties. It is the Walters revenge game, kind of. Not really revenge as much, but he's going to be going against his latest mentor. And last year, Illinois finished 8-5, 5-4 in the Big Ten, tied for second in the West. The Boilers beat them in Champaign last year on a very cold Illinois. Well, I can't even say that. Illini senior night. Yeah. Maccabee had 106 yards and a touchdown in that game. I think O'Connell threw for another 3 touchdowns as well. But yeah, their big addition this year is, on offense at least, is Ole Miss transfer quarterback Luke Altmaier. He'll be coming in likely starting for them at quarterback. Their defense did lose a lot of key pieces, so it's not a complete Walters holdover. So they did lose a lot of talent. Who did you say they had returning? Was a pretty big playmaker, Frank?
Let's see. Defensively, it's Jerzon Newton. Was a really big, really great defensive tackle for them last season. And kind of going back to Luke Altmaier for a second, he's a guy that I just have no idea. He's had 30 dropbacks in his career. Oh, so wow. Not a guy who's played a whole lot of football. I know he is projected to be the starter, but I just don't know how you replace, Tommy DeVito was a really, really good quarterback. It's probably overlooked, in my opinion.
Was he related to Danny by chance?
Probably. Yeah. DeVito's not a common name at all. So
it's got to be.
Luckily, he didn't get his hype,
Oh, man. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So Walters and Belima, they've been kind of they've been throwing some shots at each other on Twitter. And I don't know if it's just for publicity's sake, but I could totally see them kind of having like whenever they kind of meet in midfield to talk right before the game starts, or during warm-ups, I could kind of see them maybe, I don't know, I could see Walters like kind of, like whenever you like in UFC, whenever they like face off at each other and they kind of like, if somebody's trying to intimidate them, they'll like not headbutt, but they'll like push their forehead right onto their forehead and kind of nudge them. I could totally see him doing that. I feel
Bert's
like
a
he might
big
get.
boy, though. I mean, that guy's a unit.
Walters is
How's
jacked,
this
man.
how about this for another head game idea? What if we get the ball, right? We say
would
we're not
hope.
going to kick, we want to receive. We go down and score a touchdown on the first drive, and the whole team storms the field. And Walters like goes out towards midfield and is like,
See, we were just talking about
See,
before
if
the
we
show
do that,
how
we're gonna lose the game, and then we'll never
like
live
that's
that
like
down.
100-yard penalty, so many flags. Oh Lord!
But I feel like something needs to be clarified. I don't know. Like, so it was stated that like Walters and Bielema have been going back and forth. To me, it seems more one way. Seems like Bielema's throwing all the shots, and Walters just like, all right, man. Like,
Yeah, he just responds to it. But
yeah, he's just like, yeah, okay. Like, why are we acting like children here?
yeah, a couple of them were like Walters hyping up guys that he coached like at the combine or working out, and Bielema was like, no, those are my dudes. Like, all right, buddy, whatever.
Bert seems a little jealous. I only call him Bert. He looks
I
like
like
a
Bert.
bird.
I like that as a nickname.
He looks like a
I like
bird.
that.
I still can't believe that Jim Leonard's a senior analyst at Illinois, and he's not like defensive coordinator. Like I'm sorry, I can't get off that. I can't. I mean, that guy was. I think didn't Brom say that like NFL teams have contacted him to work for them, like the Packers and stuff. I feel like he said that in, or maybe I'm thinking of Wisconsin. Well, yeah, he was at Wisconsin. I could have swore that in like interviews he talked about how great Leonard's is, and that he's been contacted by like the Packers before to like work for them. So I don't know. It just blows my mind that he's just a senior analyst. I don't know.
Waiting for that right job. He's just waiting for the right job.
Yeah.
And I think one big question about this Illinois team is who's going to replace Chase Brown. You know, he was kind of a workhorse for them at the running back position last season. You know, on the unofficial depth chart, they have Reggie Love III, listed as number one. He had 279 yards last season. Obviously when you're playing behind Chase Brown, that's going to happen. But his numbers are respectable when you break it down to, his per carry at 4.7 yards per carry, didn't have a single fumble, in 114 carries, 3.4 yards after contact. So all like respectable numbers. But I just think when you're, it's kind of like the problem Purdue has in basketball, the front court. When you're playing behind Zach Edey, it's not that you're bad. It's just that you're playing behind Zach Edey.
Right.
So jury's still out on him. So this Illinois team is going to be a lot like us in that there are just so many players gone, so many new faces in. I just feel like that's the current landscape of college football. Just every single year, you never know what you're going to get from every team, which is, I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah. I don't know, honestly, and I don't mean this in any kind of bad way, but I could, just because Illinois I think is more established just with their and who knows, Purdue might run, get through all their kinks and stuff in the first few games, but I don't know. I feel like this is one that Illinois could kind of come out of Ross-Ade with, just because of their experience, the players that they're bringing back. And Coach Walters just trying, first year just trying to figure everything out. Emotion maybe takes over a little bit during that game. I don't know. I could see kind of Illinois squeaking out. I don't want them to at all, but I could kind of see it just because of So we shall see.
Shame.
I'm sorry.
How dare you?
Just keeping it real, guys. My bad.
The ultimate boiler.
No, next game. Oh, sorry.
I'm just gonna say I agree in that there will be an emotional component to this game, and those are always hard to traverse and hard to feel out. So this one, I'm gonna throw it out there as a toss up for me.
Yeah, but you guys think it'll be close? Do you think Illinois pulls out? Do you think Purdue pulls out?
I give us the edge for sure, like a slight home edge.
What is wrong with everybody in this pod?
Chris isn't even here. I just looked at Russ. I didn't even think about it. That was all.
He did the whole like mic.
I had nothing to do with that one. That was all.
I wasn't trying to do anything with that either.
I was good, and then I looked up at Dylan, and I
wasn't doing anything. You can't blame. Don't blame this on me. This is not on me. This is on you. Grow up, Russ. God.
No, I see us as a slight edge, like less than a field goal favorite in this game, and I feel it being pretty accurate. But I also think that we could feel very different by the time we get to this game, because I think we'll have a pretty good idea of what we've got and what Illinois has. Both with us having a new head coach, whole new offense, whole new defense, and then Illinois, it's going to be, can they keep up the defensive efficiency without Walters? We're going to know that by that point, we're going to have a little better idea. So right now, I agree it's a toss up, but I think by the time we get to that game, I think it could heavily lean one way or the other. I think it's what's going to end up happening. So,
as always, I spent hours upon hours researching, Illinois and watching film,
looking at the analytics and everything,
and really diving into. No, dude, I didn't do any of that. Boilers by billion, like I always say. So that's I leave all the research to the guys down there.
To that guy right
there. Yeah, Russ. Or God.
Wow. Yes, thanks.
Russ is a resident historian.
He's historian.
Yeah,
I'm talking about
we're talking a lot about previous games from previous seasons. So yeah, this is all Russ.
Russ has seen like 100 seasons. Like he's seen it all.
I mean, I hit that cannon in 1905. I started this rivalry. I'm not going to try to take all the credit, but I mean,
you should take it. This should be the Russell cannon. I mean, that's what it should be.
So Russ, who comes? Or no, where do we go after Illinois?
So we, I think it's only our second road game of the year, I believe. We go to Iowa the next week, October 7th.
That is correct.
So we make it to October. Iowa. Yeah, we make it to October before we even play our second road game of the year. Kickoff not announced yet. Iowa finished also like Illinois, 8-5 overall, 5-4 tied for second in the Big Ten. Unlike Illinois, they handled us last year. I think that was our one bad performance of the whole season. Obviously take away the bowl game and all the things that went with that, but yeah, they completely kind of owned us, and we just never got anything going against them last year.
It was so bad, dude. As soon as the Boilermaker special just stopped and died halfway out during the entrance, I was like, please don't be an omen. And then it was.
It was
the most Purdue moment,
Well, and that was a game that was sold out too, but the attendance, I mean, I don't know who all was there. I was there. I would say Rosse was maybe 65% packed because the 40-mile-an-hour winds. So like, I mean, I remember like a box of popcorn hit me in the back of the head like randomly, and like it's
free popcorn, dude.
No, it kept going, but it's like wind, like the wind that I've never experienced before. But I remember seeing Jack Ansel punt the ball into the east, like toward the east stand, and it went to the west stand. Like the wind was that strong.
That's crazy.
Like he kicked one direction, it landed out of bounds the opposite direction. So
shout out to Jack.
And so everyone can say like, well, it's hard to throw, but man, Iowa Spencer Petras did not seem to be struggling to throw that day.
I think
just a very scientific and engineering observation. Now that we've closed in the south end zone, the stadium should be wind free now, so you guys shouldn't have to worry about that at all anymore.
Yep, makes sense. I think it was because of the 40-mile-an-hour winds that made Spencer Petras actually accurate. Like he was still throwing it the way he does, but the wind was just like.
I do remember how windy that game was.
Speaking of, they're actually another team that has a transfer quarterback this year. So Cade McNamara from Michigan will be coming in.
I'm interested to see what they do because he is very confident that their offense is going to be explosive this year, even though they've still got Brian Ferentz, driving the ship and everything. So we shall see. I don't really know what else to say about it other than that. But Cade seems very confident that he can take over and make them a very productive offense. They have a pretty good running back too, don't they?
I think every team in the Big Ten does.
We just happen to have the best.
Let's see.
It's true.
Shout out to them.
I can't remember who. It's somebody. It's like something Johnson, right? Or is he a wide receiver for them?
That's a pretty common last name. I'd say it's a safe bet.
Caleb Johnson. Russ? Correct. Yeah.
Running back. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, one thing I'm happy about this Iowa team is that we no longer have to play against Riley Moss, because he completely shut down Charlie Jones. I mean, he shut down every one of our receivers, but he, with the exception of David Bell, but he just completely took away Charlie Jones as a weapon last season. So I'll just be happy to play a team without him. But
I'd put an asterisk on that just because we talked about the wind and how much that affected the passing game. But
I don't know. Charlie Jones was pretty speedy. I feel like he could get to where the ball was going. Riley Moss definitely played a role. Like he was really getting up in
100%.
him, not letting him catch passes, not letting him run his routes. I mean, it was definitely a combination of the two for sure.
But before we get any farther, I totally spaced. Terrible host of a podcast. So just big shout outs real quick to our partnership over at Big Banner. They have just recently launched their website, so you can go check it out at bigbannersports.com. Is that correct? Is that the website?
Yep.
Yeah, so bigbannersports.com. Check it out. There's going to be tons of articles, posts, blogs. You can get our podcasts there, I think, as well. I think they'll link them there. So really great content. You can check it out. They have, stuff going on for every school in the Big Ten, even the new incoming ones. I'm sure they'll have those locked down here before shortly.
And make sure you read our bios because they're pretty funny. Let's just throw it out there. Those, we don't take ourselves that seriously. It's really just for jokes.
I'm still upset that my name is just host, but it's fine.
That's the most important thing.
Dylan made it cool nicknames for everybody else except for me, but
you are the host. That's the most important job. I tried it and I failed miserably. I mean, the host is the hardest part, and you nail it every week.
But yeah, so big shout outs to Big Banner, our partners, and then of course a huge shout out to our sponsor over at Cincy Blitzboards, a Purdue-owned Boilermaker grad-owned business. It's a great game that you can play with your family, friends. You can take it to tailgates. You can take it to a day out on the lake. I mean, really anywhere. It's super.
Dude, they delivered my Blitzboard to my office, hand delivered it. I got to meet the great people, great small business. The board is like, I'm not just saying this because they're a sponsor. I'm saying it. It's a well-made board. The thought that goes into this game, the thought that went to making the boards, the time and effort. It's like I think it's like a 3-person show, like, neighbors and friends that do this together. Man, I haven't gotten to play a full game, but I've messed around with it in my office. I need to bring it home and put it on the wall.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's what mine's gonna go, like probably right back there somewhere until we head to Virginia Tech.
It is so much fun.
So the main takeaway there, Dylan, is that everyone can expect to have their Cincy Blitzboard hand delivered, right?
Yep, exactly. Yeah. They will hand deliver
regardless if you're in Texas. I know we have a lot of listeners in Belgium.
They'll fly international. Don't threaten them with a good time. Listen, they'll hop on a flight to Belgium, Japan.
You know what we ought to do when you need to bring that BXP Blitzboard to all the games that we go to. That was absolutely really rude, Russ. I saw that. That was really rude.
I didn't see it, but it was rude.
But anyway, I just saw like this turkey neck jiggling back. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. But anyway, we need to bring it to all the games, and we need to find somebody from the opposing team, and then we play them in a game of Blitzboard, and whoever and win. Yeah, we'll have to keep track of our record this year.
That may end up in a fisticuffs or something. What's that? But who started that brawl in Lot H? It was those Boiler Express guys again.
Oh man. So but yeah, so big shout outs to our partnerships, sponsorships. We love you guys. Sorry for getting there for good 30 minutes.
The Ohio I watched the Ohio podcast, a partner of ours at Big Banter. They have full on commercials for their podcast.
What?
Yeah, like full on, they put audio over the logo or a small video or whatever it is. And I was watching it live the other night. I think they go live Sunday nights. And I was watching it, and they're like, "We're going to take a commercial break." And I said, "What is this? A commercial break? Like, what are we doing?" And I told Eric, I said, "I think we got to up our game and start getting commercials." So
no, F it, we do it live.
That's true. We don't.
Listeners hate commercials. You ever listen to podcasts? Let's fast forward to the commercial.
That's true. That's very true. Never mind. You're stuck with ads.
Maybe we could charge people $10 a month so that we don't read the. I'm just kidding.
I wouldn't charge people a penny for me. I mean, listen.
Oh no, I was just thinking of like Spotify. They were like, "You want a break from the ads?"
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So Russ, next game, October 14th.
So speaking of the Ohio podcast, our next opponent after that, second road trip of the season, we got to come back home and face the Ohio State Buckeyes. So Saturday, October 14th, it's the last game before a bye week. So we are 7th game, I believe. So we play 7, have a bye, and then 5. Ohio State, of course, finished 11-2 last year, 8-1, second in the East. But their only losses were basically both of them came down to fourth quarter. A bad fourth quarter against Michigan, where they were outscored 21-3, and then a 18-3 third quarter against Georgia in the national semifinal, capped by a botched field goal, 50-yard attempt that didn't even make it like 10 feet off the ground. So they were very close to being not just undefeated, but to be the national championship, or national champions. Because I would say they'd probably be a double-digit favorite against TCU had they made that game.
Right.
So Justin Fields was playing very well. Or not Justin Fields. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
CJ Stroud. Wow, goodness. But yeah, this is a very good ball club. We're very close to talking to them the same way we talk about Michigan. They do have a quarterback question, whether it's going to be Kyle McCord or Devin Brown. Kyle McCord seems to have the edge because he just has a little more experience. He's a little older guy. But they do for sure have wide receiver talent. Marvin Harrison Jr. is probably going to be a top 10 pick, maybe in top 5 pick in the NFL draft. And that's still a loaded wide receiver room, top to bottom still. Even after losing Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jackson Smith and Jigba last year, they're going to be very loaded on offense. So it's going to be a tough game. I'd give us less than 10% chance of pulling this one out.
Wow.
I don't know, man. My guy Eric from the Ohio podcast said that the offensive line there looked a little iffy. So Ryan Walters, I know you're watching. You do every week, and we appreciate that. Attack that O-line, and we'll be all right.
Yeah, Nick Scorton's going to be in that backfield.
Raising hell.
Praise Dale.
Praise Dale.
So you guys are more confident than 10%? You guys said, wow.
Listen, I got to live with these Ohio State people, okay? So if Purdue doesn't win, then I'm miserable for at least 2 to 3 months. And it's so I'd like to win it, but they're Ohio State. They're a powerhouse, unfortunately.
Is the game played at night or in daytime?
It's not announced yet.
I hope it's at night.
Well, that's going to be a big factor into what my decision is. If it's a night game, that game's 50-50.
I don't know. I feel good. I don't know. I don't want to come out here and say Purdue's going to win because I'm an idiot and I say stuff like that. But
I mean, similar to Illinois, I think we have a much different feel for this game once we get to this point of the season.
That's true.
Yeah.
Right? We're 6 games in, and we, if we're 6 games in and we're sitting at 4-2, then yeah, I agree, Damon, that if it's a night game, I'd give us a 50-50 shot. But if we're, 2-4, dealing with certain adversity that we've dealt with in the past, I'm not going to specify anything, but if we've been through a lot of adversity and kind of different guys are playing different roles than what we expected, it could be a rough game.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I know the Ohio State pod guys are going to listen to this and think this is hilarious.
Yeah, they're real cute.
I remember an October night in 2018 taking shots before Ohio State came to town last time, saying there's no way we're going to win this game. 2 completely different teams. Yeah, literally. Yeah, it was just I mean,
there's no way it'll happen.
Basically, yeah. It was me and 15 other Purdue alum.
Frank, this is a Waffle House. Get out.
Frank, you quit taking shots of wine. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, we were just what do we have to lose? So what? So what if we lose? We're supposed to lose, and that was kind of the mentality that all of us had as we were literally walking into Ross 8. So who knows? Who knows? But
do you think Walters is going to have that signature win in his first year, like a win that's there is hope for the future, kind of one of those? Not saying that's going to be Ohio State. I mean, it could be anybody that's on our schedule. If it was a signature win, I think beforehand, I don't remember our entire schedule off the top of my head, but I would say that Ohio State would probably be the most signature of a signature win if there was one on our schedule.
If he beats Ohio State in his first year, I would say sign him to a lifetime contract. Mm-hmm. Okay, 100-year contract. I don't care. Pay his kids, his grandkids. I just give the man all the money. That's what I say.
So that being said, given some of the previews we've done so far, would you want this win or the Wisconsin win more?
Oh, Wisconsin.
Because you just said all that about Ohio State. So it's it'd be a big win. But
if he beats Wisconsin, I think that'd be more of a signature win than Ohio State because there's the 19-year bear that's on all of our backs that we're all ready to get off. Rondale Moore was going to get off for us.
I was 7 last time. Jesus. Russ was 82 at that time.
Yeah,
dude, I saw Rondale Moore post his year 3 hype video for him being in the NFL, and maybe it was
I posted it. Yeah, I think I shared it to the group thread.
Well, I don't know because those were his NFL highlights. I'm being dumb. I don't know. Somebody posted Rondale. I think it was like the Big Ten Network posted Rondale Moore
yeah,
highlights.
I think yeah.
And one of them was that
yeah.
spin move that he had against Wisconsin. God, dude,
I seen it with my own 2 eyes and still couldn't believe it.
Yeah, that was
It was
just
like the
insane.
quickest. It was literally the quickest, like sudden movement I've ever seen a human make.
Just catch an immediate spin, like to have the wherewithal to see those two guys and
dude's running. He's got a defender like coming towards him, and you're like, oh shoot, good gain. And then he does that, and you're like, oh my god, it works. We scored. Oh, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Speaking of quick sudden movements, they also posted a Devin Mockabee highlight video, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Beast.
I was literally thinking about him.
Today, I think today they tweeted that.
Posted.
They X'd it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can repost things now. You don't retweet it anymore. You repost it.
Stupid. Give me Twitter back.
But yeah, I think Mockabee too. The way that Rondale can make those quick sudden movements, Mockabee reminds me a lot of that. Like I think about his big run that he had against Minnesota, where he basically split 2 IU defenders in half whenever he took it into the end zone. I can't remember exactly what quarter that was or what play it was specifically, but
yeah. Weird comparison, and what I think of when I watch him run sometimes with the Crazy Legs moniker is I think of those action figures that just twisted at the hips. And I feel like when he's running, all of a sudden his hips just like shift and he starts running in a different direction without even slowing down.
Lie, dude. Them hips don't lie.
Hey.
When one thing Walters did say about Mockabee is that he looks like a completely different player now, and he credits the current strength and conditioning staff for that. Saw an interview with Devin Mockabee if you haven't seen it on done by Purdue Sports. He really feels like he's not where he wants to be or where he thinks he can be, which I love. Like, I mean, he burst onto the scene and he said, did he think that was going to happen? No, but he said he hoped it would happen. He burst onto the scene and, but he's not where he wants to be in terms of like being a household name and putting up the numbers that he thinks he can do. Another interview I saw today was with Dylan Downing. Not sure if anyone saw that, but they asked him to They asked him to compare his running style to Devin Mockabee. Like, Mockabee's kind of shifty. He's going from side to side. He's really elusive. How would you describe yours? And he just said straight.
I was going to say freight train.
I love it.
Well, and you see Tracy run over dude? Did you see that video? Tracy running over a dude?
Yeah.
Dude, Purdue Creative, man. They're putting out like movie style videos during camp. Oh, I'll
tell you, the video that got me hyped was Sanusi Kane laying the hit on Tracy.
Yeah.
And not only that, Walters running across the field to celebrate with Kane. Like the interaction that the two of them had at the Big Ten Media Day, it kind of feels like they have a little camaraderie between the two of them. Going on.
He told Kane he was his favorite DB he's ever coached already.
I just I'm just excited. Like it seems like there's just a camaraderie that he has with his players that's kind of unmatched that we haven't seen in a long time. But to see him run across the field and celebrate with him was pretty cool.
Yeah, the guys look like they're having a ton of fun out there. Go ahead, Russ.
You're good. Speaking of strength and conditioning too, I thought about this when you said it, so I didn't want to forget. Another interview that was given, I think, after day 2 of training camp, Coach Harrell, he commended the strength and conditioning, saying that it's the biggest improvement he's seen from a spring ball to fall ball to training camp. The guys looked much faster, bigger. Like he was very happy with the improvement that they made and how much better shape they were in. I just missed that.
No. Yeah. Side note, I just got a text from the guys at Blitzboard while we're talking about, not talking about it, but we are now. They sent me a picture of Blue Collar Pete on a Blitzboard, and I told them I'll take my money.
Dang it!
Maybe we can make that the prize. That could be the prize for the fantasy football league.
I want Blue Collar Pete on a T-shirt, but I don't want to get sued by Purdue University. God,
there's got to be a way. I will. We'll just. No. No. By the way, we need more people to join the fantasy football league, don't we?
Yeah.
So if you guys are listening and you want to, shoot the shit with us a little bit,
hashtag Russ is old.
Chop it up. Hashtag Russ is old. If you send out a message to the group pod or the group account, or you can message me at BXP _Russ. We're doing a fantasy football league just to have a little bit of fun, and have another reason to talk trash to each other and kind of give each other some crap. So
do we pick team
if you're
names?
interested,
I know I'm the Coonsville Propaners.
yeah, you can pick whatever team name you want there, buddy. Whatever you want to be.
Did I pick a team name, or is it just like Ultimate Boiler Team or something?
You guys are
Yeah, it's probably Team Ultimate Boiler.
Okay.
That's all. Yeah,
the Ultimate Boiler.
But yeah, we're still working on whether we're going to do some NIL gifts for the NIL store or Blitzboard or both. But there'll be something in it.
I say the trophy.
If you guys are interested,
the trophy needs to be like a WWE belt. Personally,
I'm not giving up my WWE belt.
I was to say, if somebody has one,
we make a custom one. They have websites for these types of things, guys. Jeez,
they do.
If Old Man Russ has seen the websites, anybody has. I mean,
I just want to see Dylan create this WWE belt, except the side plates are like Coons Propane logo on the side.
It's no longer Coons, but no, I'm just kidding. It is. Yeah, and just be the sponsor.
Yeah.
See, now people know what I do for a living. God, no, I'm just kidding.
So you talk about propane all if they didn't pick it up by now, they're just like, God, this guy really likes propane.
This guy's like a propane enthusiast. Like, what do we?
Now you're not gonna be able to go anywhere, Dylan. Everybody's gonna know where you're at and who you are. You're not gonna be able to go anywhere.
I'm not one of those cowards that hide behind a fake profile. I do have burners.
Someone's gonna come up to you at the tailgate this fall and be like, "So, what do you think about electric heating versus propane?"
Or if somebody comes up to me like, "We're cooking with charcoal," I'd be like, "All right."
That was a good hit, Russ. God,
Russ has still got it.
Whatever you imaginary punch,
old man strength. That's the thing.
They've had these workout programs at the nursing home where they pick up yoga balls and things like that.
It's the old Billy Blanks taekwondo videos from like the late '90s.
Speed bag.
Yeah.
The speed bag. I've always wanted one of those.
I was gonna ask, what was I gonna ask? I don't remember now.
Probably because we're completely off the rails. That's
already hard for me to give you an answer.
While you think about that, since we have a few minutes, let's talk about basketball for a second. One thing I want to get your all's opinion on: we are playing Arkansas in an exhibition game at Arkansas. What are your takes on that?
I think Painter. I can't remember who I saw say it on Twitter, but it sounds like Painter is trying to load their schedule as much as possible to play as many athletic teams as possible to basically combat anything that they struggled with last year and to hit it head on.
Well, it's also a charity game, right? Like that's one of the bigger things behind it was they're raising money for some tornado victims down there.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and that's absolutely fantastic that they're doing that. But like Arkansas has had quite a bit of steam lately. They've been having quite a bit of momentum. I think it's fair to say Purdue is probably going to be a top 5 team at this point. I'm sure we'll have an AP poll by then, maybe top 3. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if this is like a sold out exhibition game. I mean,
yeah, I don't doubt it,
honestly. And so I think that take is exactly right. I think that Painter is trying to just like take almost the Tom Izzo approach and just kind of put the guys through the gauntlet.
Mm-hmm.
And like, what better way to do it? I mean, he's kind of taken the secret scrimmage approach. Maybe we still have a secret scrimmage. You can do 2 scrimmages or have 2 exhibitions. But I mean, to have an exhibition on the road against a perennial top 25 team, they have been for the last 3 or 4 seasons now. That's bold. Like, that's really bold. And like, I know this game won't count for anything, but a loss is definitely going to like shift some people's opinions. There are people whose opinions may matter. Like, it's going to shift their opinion for sure.
I don't know, because I mean, we always lose to West Virginia every year in like the preseason scrimmages and stuff, and Xavier, or Providence, we always get beat by them, and then I don't know if it'll change that much.
Yeah, but it's harder and harder, I think, to keep that stuff under wraps now with social media exploding the way it has. It's harder and harder to not see clips and not get moved by that. I mean, how many people freak out anytime a recruit posts a clip or shares their buddy that committed to a different school and they're like, "Oh my gosh, he's changing schools." And it's like, I think every little clip could definitely influence the public opinion. Now, I don't think it influences the polls. I don't think it influences it to that degree, but yeah, it would definitely get people talking and get people worried if we don't go in there and crush them.
Yeah, I'm not saying it necessarily influences the polls. I just think it influences.
I don't think we need to crush them.
Some mindsets, just the way that people maybe who are contributing to the poll think about Purdue. So I just think that this could be the very first time we see this team play outside of Europe. So I just think that's a really bold move by Painter.
I tell you what, I could. Sorry, go ahead, Frank.
No, go right ahead. I was just going to talk about what Painter said after the scrimmage. So
I was going to say that I could totally see that if Purdue does lose and they lose by like more than 5, sky is falling. Just throw the season away. We haven't figured out what we haven't learned from our mistakes.
Hashtag
blah
fire
blah
painter.
blah. Yeah. Hashtag
or
fire
my,
painter. Hashtag the season's in jeopardy. Hashtag already signing out. Already checking out. Like I can just see now if we lose by like 6 points to Arkansas. Oh my god.
I guarantee the Group M tailgate guy calls in if we lose.
Right. Hey, you know what? He had a point though. We kind of sucked at 3-point shooting there towards the end of the year. I'm just saying, I backed the guy a little bit. Okay, he wasn't totally wrong. He was the old guy that called in and said,
"But like
hey,
calling
coach,
and telling the head coach is a ballsy move."
Well, how many times too did Painter say like,
right, Russ?
How many times did Painter say like, how many times did Painter say like, I can't shoot the ball for them? Like, we're drawing up the plays, they're getting an open look. Like,
I hope he doesn't
how do I
shoot it for him.
coach
He's
someone?
not that good of a shooter.
Yeah,
does he
but
have
how can he coach them to hit the open threes better?
Yeah.
You know, like what is he supposed to do? Just have them shoot like 100 threes before they leave practice every day? Like, you know, all the guys on the squad have, you know, exception of maybe Edie, have shot 40% or better from 3 at some point in their career.
I don't know, Big
right?
E,
So like,
Big Easy, he's been shooting threes.
Yeah.
Well, my favorite take about this current Purdue team that I saw on X. Maybe we should have like an X post of the week or something. Just like maybe sometimes they're good, maybe sometimes they're bad. But it was the I can't. It's not called Twitter anymore. But it was the take was that if you take Zach Edey and you pull him away from the basket, he's just a regular basketball player. It's just like that's like, I mean, so my response to that was like, yeah, if Peyton Manning played the receiver position, he probably wouldn't be famous, but he was a quarterback.
I bet you Patrick Mahomes can't hit a 50-yard field goal.
If Spud Webb was a center, he wouldn't have been that good, you know.
Like,
Shaq at the point.
Yeah, there are positions in sports, not just basketball. There are positions in basketball for a reason.
What?
Just
here
really,
you go,
really
around your big stats again. Jeez.
You know, I don't think Sanusi Kane would be that good of a quarterback. Okay, he might. So,
dude, George Karloff.
I don't know if I'd say anything negative about Sanusi Kane. I've seen that dude hit.
I'm not saying anything negative about it. I was just going along with the trend. Never mind. Sorry, Sanusi.
Speaking of negative, this is have you guys seen the Baltimore Orioles? What's going on with them? Have you seen this?
I watched the video. I don't get what, like, all he did was state a fact.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, so one of the reasons we kind of started this, we talked about it way back in the meeting, was to try to insert a little more positivity, because everybody does at the first sign of adversity try to jump off the train. No pun intended. Or pun intended. They definitely try to freak out and point out all the negatives and what should have been differently. And we wanted to be a little bit more positive, a little bit more energetic of a podcast. But this is just like going too far anti-negative, and it wasn't even negative is the thing. Like, so the guy basically posted a graphic or talked about a graphic, and the thing is, there's a graphics guy that had to make that, right? The producer had to approve it, right? Some kind of editor, some kind of crew. Like, that saw how many people on the way out, and it literally was talking about how much better the Baltimore Orioles have done this season compared to the past,
right?
And the Baltimore GM was like, "Oh, suspend him, fire him." Like, what?
I watched the video. I remember like, oh crap, what did this guy say? Like, it had to be.
I was waiting for it,
and I'm sitting there, and I get to the end of the video, and I'm like, this had to be the wrong clip. Like, this couldn't have been. Somebody must have uploaded like. There's no way he got suspended for.
By the way, Russ, you nailed it. You had a really good Vince McMahon impression right there when you said "fired." Like you.
It's the giblet or whatever you're talking about earlier.
The turkey gobbler.
It's his old man when he gets mad. Stay off my sidewalk. Like, get off my grass.
Did I ever
get out of my way?
Did I ever tell you guys about what? So my dad lived in a like a cul-de-sac whenever he was a kid, and I don't know if I told you guys this story or not, but basically they were like the kids that would go around and terrorize everybody and everything all the time, and so they all had a bad rap. So it was very easy to get them in trouble, even if they didn't do anything wrong. So this old man would sit on his front porch with a 5-gallon bucket of corn feed, and if like a car drove by, he would just like chuck the corn feed at the car, and then they'd pull over and be like, what? And he'd be like, "There's little damn kids down there."
And my dad, so Midwest, I love it.
Yeah, very small town Midwest for sure.
That's great. I also
man.
grew up in a cul-de-sac. Best way to grow up, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
real. It's just that Midwestern, doesn't get much more great than that.
Yeah.
Cul-de-sac.
Speaking of
weird name,
kind of like growing up vintage things, I did see. So Dylan's gotten the eBay bug into me, so now I go on there every now and then. I'll look up for like vintage Purdue stuff. And I saw these like cups from like these like Ross-Ade Stadium cups from like the early 2000s. Or early late 90s. I'm pretty sure my grandpa has them, so I think I might have to go down there and snag those.
Sell them for a
Just sell
profit.
them.
Can we talk?
He's
do you
got
guys
so many
remember
cool.
the souvenir cups are literally the size of my head now.
Yeah, I got that souvenir cup, and Chris completely made it explode when we went to a basketball game together.
was it Chris or drunk Chris?
We couldn't even get to the tip off, and we're already like grabbing napkins and stuff.
Yeah, and we like go to the security guy. We're like, "Hey, can we get somebody to clean this up?" He's like, you're gonna have to get some napkins." Like he was no help at all.
Did I tell you how I first met Chris in person? Have I ever told that story? I'm walking.
No,
I'm walking about 5 or 6 times this week, but
Shut up, Ross. Listen. No, I had just gotten to the gates into Ross-Ade, and I just hear somebody yell, "Dylan!" And I'm like, "Who the hell is that?" And he's like, "Chris." I'm like, "Oh, hey, dude," but like, is it like, "Hey, Dylan," it's Dylan, and I'm like, "Who the hell is this screaming my name?" It's Christopher. I love him.
Speaking of meeting for the first time, I know Dylan, you and I haven't met in person. Damon, we've met, I think, once. But when you guys come to my house, you have got to be like the most obnoxious Purdue fans, because my neighbor right across the street's a big IU fan.
Oh, absolutely.
You're speaking my language. Right? Let's TP his house.
Like, I mean, I got one of those Purdue suit jackets with like the Purdue P all over. Yeah, like I'm gonna be out in the front yard, like waving the Purdue flag. Like,
how old is this guy? You real old? Your age?
Yeah. No, a little bit younger. He's only in his 70s or 80s.
I say we TP his house. I mean, shoot, why not? No, I guess we can't do it now. I just said it live on a podcast, but
yeah, I'm sure he's watching.
He's not. He's too old to know what a podcast is. He probably thinks radio shows.
I mean, I'm on here, so like if I can do it.
Well, we held your hand through it, but you got there.
And doing it on a Windows 95 computer, albeit.
Yeah, it's fucking AOL. You've got mail.
He's got a typewriter.
He's got.
This is so messed up because Russ isn't even the oldest person in our podcast group. That's what's...
He's not. Chris is Chris the oldest?
I think so.
I'm the youngest. I'm the best looking. It happens. But
yeah, you know what? Speaking of oldest and youngest, I was talking to Blitzboard when I was ordering mine and getting my design and everything. And they go, "So are you young like Dylan?" And I was like, "Is 30 young?"
It's 30 young. Hey, boy, ripe old age of 27. I love whenever the Boiled Sports guys bring up upsets that happened in like the 90s. They'll be like, I think it was the Michigan upset in 96. I'm like, that's when I was born. And they get furious.
So, Dylan, you'll enjoy this story. When I went to pick up a certain item of Purdue fandom that you turned me on to.
I thought you said you're going to pick up your Depends.
That's a crappy joke.
I see what you did there.
Anyways, when I went to pick that up, the guy that you connected me with, that I picked it up from, was wearing a Capital One Bowl t-shirt.
Ooh.
Right when Purdue went to Capital, back in 01, I think it was. And I was like, "Oh, cool! Did you go to that? I was there with my dad." And he goes, "No, I was 1 year old."
I love it. I love it.
Okay.
Well, hey, Sonny, did you go to that game?
Yeah.
Old timer, I wasn't even born yet. Russ, you're wise beyond.
I knew you'd enjoy that, Dylan.
I did. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
All right. Well, have we even talked about the basketball games, or did we just totally go off the rails?
Ooh, nailed it. No, I think we nailed it all.
Did we? Okay, I don't remember.
Did we talk about the banter coaching poll?
Trash.
Oh yeah, no, we haven't talked about that.
Trash.
They had Relentless in front of Walters, which makes no sense at all.
Yeah, that
makes about as much sense as putting IU in your top 25 poll.
Talk about delusional.
Leo,
love everyone. Is everyone 2 words or 1 word?
Well, if it's Leo, I guess they're implying it's 2 words.
Yeah,
because Leo.
Listen, I'm not the smartest. We know this.
Good job.
Oh
But,
man.
Yeah, no, that coach's poll was something. I couldn't believe they had what's his nuts in front of Walters.
Yeah, so if you guys aren't following Big Banter on X, they're posting. They've been posting all off season top like 14 lists.
Yeah, like
it's some top 10, top 14, but yeah, positional lists. And the most recent one, or one of the most recent ones, was coaches in the Big Ten, and they had Coach Walters at number 13 out of 14. So, just another chip to put on the Purdue
had
shoulder.
Tom Allen at 12. I don't get I know Walters hasn't coached a single game of as a head coach yet, but he's got to be above Relentless. I mean, my gosh.
Frank, how many did you think they had right? How many did you think they had right on that?
I agree with 0 out of 14.
When the big brain doesn't agree with you, you done messed up.
You messed up.
They had Matt Rule at 10. I mean, like you can make the case for higher or lower than 10, but like not.
They
not
had
10.
Burt pretty high too. Where was Burt? Was he 5,
like,
6?
I think he was like tied. Yeah, I thought he was top. Maybe he was top 5.
Fleck was.
They had Fleck above
Fleck was
Thielen,
fifth.
too.
Fleck at
Yeah.
5th.
Fickle-
That Colt leading allegedly, son of a gun, could
The
not
Fleck
be
bank
fifth.
is not real. Okay, it's a concept.
Well, and so the one thing they're going to have to consider, and I'm sure they've talked about this, is the conference expansion. And we did put up a poll about that. Dylan, what were the results? I think it was how do you feel about the conference expansion? It was like it, don't like it, or I'm indifferent to it.
Yeah,
and I think the majority were indifferent, right?
Yeah, majority were indifferent. It was really interesting when I first brought up. I didn't know what to bring up. That one's about the Pete logo. Man, we do a lot of.
I wouldn't say the majority were necessarily indifferent, because you split up like hate and loathe entirely into 2 different answers.
Well, that's the
Oh,
Pete.
and if you combine the 2 of those,
Yeah,
it
Russ, get your
leads
polls
indifferent.
right. Jeez.
Yeah, hate, and loathe
You're
entirely. That's for the Purdue Pete logo.
You're looking at the wrong one there, pal. God.
But I was fascinated by the fact that, like, I feel like people would have felt really strongly one way or another. But there's a lot of questions that still aren't answered about that. And for anyone who wants to like hear kind of, it's really interesting to hear Painter talk about it. Listen to his post scrimmage interview if you want to hear him talk about like his opinion on it. But he doesn't seem to be for it. Like, that was my take. He didn't seem to stand behind it.
He seems like a traditional guy. I don't think he likes much change.
I mean, in typical August form, Painter said that our defense is terrible. So he's in perfect form right now. But he talked about, like, it's going to be a lot harder for the West Coast teams than it is going to be for the Midwest teams. And I never really thought about it from that perspective. I more thought about it from the perspective of a Purdue fan. Like, I mean, are they going to go on a West Coast trip? Is it going to be, we're going to go to USC, UCLA, Oregon, and then back home? I mean, how's it all going to work? Are we going to have 11 p.m. tip-offs? But it's going to be a lot harder for, Oregon.
I didn't even think about the
Purdue.
late night tip-offs. Russ is going to miss so many games.
Well, I mean, Russ is a responsible person who has to get up early for
That's
work.
true. He
But,
does, yeah. I mean, it was an old joke, but it is true. Russ is a blue collar, I'll tell you.
So, for those that we didn't talk about it, to get back on track here, but we actually are adding, of course, USC and UCLA has been known for a while now. And can you imagine putting together a TV special about, the Big Ten schedules for football starting next year? Can you imagine doing that and then all of a sudden having 2 new teams? That'd be so stupid.
When
right?
does
when does
Washington and Oregon join? What year is that?
Same time. That was where I was going with that. So
they join next year.
Big Ten Network. Yeah, Big Ten Network did this whole special on the schedules and how it's going to be done for the next 2 years after this football season. And now all of a sudden, Washington and Oregon are also joining in 2024. So all those schedules you saw, all those plans to see USC and Ross-Ade or to go out west to see a game, like, throw those out the window, because they're going to have to do a complete new schedule, and they might have to rethink whether or not they're going to do divisions, which I think would make sense. So to the, those that say indifferent, though, to get back to the poll question and the answer, I selected indifferent because, for the people that are freaking out going, oh, I'm a traditionalist, I can't believe they're doing this, blah, 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 whatever. Well, like, Chris plays Revamped, right? He posts about it every now and then in the group thread, and he talks about redoing the conferences and everything like that. Well, that NCAA 2014, a game that's almost 10 years old now. And heck, I can remember playing like NCAA football 2000, not to use video games as an example, but you could edit conferences then, right? Conferences have been edited for the history of football, the entire history of football, right? Like, Penn State, there's still people that are mad that Penn State got added to the Big Ten because that only happened in the 90s. The Big 12 is not that old. The Big East just changed in basketball. Missouri joined the SEC. Texas A&M joined the SEC, right? We added Maryland, Nebraska, Rutgers. Nobody freaked out, and all of a sudden now everybody's freaking out.
I think everybody's freaking out now because it's turning into like 2 power conferences between the Big Ten and the SEC.
I definitely freaked out. I just want to put it out there. When Maryland, Rutgers joined the Big Ten, I freaked out. I voiced strong displeasure about that.
Yeah, there was definitely people that but I'm saying as a whole, like you didn't turn on every media outlet and hear everybody trashing it, all the coaches trashing it, which if you want to see the definition of irony, go look up the Missouri football coach that's trashing conference expansion when they literally joined the SEC when they were not within
and the same coaches complaining about it are making $100-200 million a year. It's like
exactly,
man.
Exactly. The other part is it is still college sports and athletics, right? So they are still student athletes. Like people that are like, oh, we're just throwing student athlete out the window and trying to make money and blah, blah, which I get that. Yes, that's true to an extent. But like Painter talked about, they will do scheduling in as advantageous of a way to help student athletes as they can.
Word.
Right. So, hey, thanks. Appreciate it. I've been on the earth a long time. I've learned a few words over the years. But they'll have, when UCLA plays Michigan and Michigan State in basketball, they're not going to have them play Michigan on Tuesday night at 8 p.m. and then Michigan State on Thursday night at 7:30. They'll have them play one of them on Thursday night maybe, and then a Sunday night game, through one weekend. They're not going to make them play They're not going to make the men's lacrosse team from UCLA go play a game at Maryland at 8:00 p.m. on a Wednesday night in the middle of school week. They won't do that. They'll be smart. They will make the schedule in a way that helps people as much as possible because they also want people on the West Coast to tune in, right? It's all about TV money and how many people are going to watch the game. So if you're going to add West Coast teams, you got to make it at a time that the West Coast audience is going to tune in and watch the game.
And so, Russ, it sounds like you listened to the same interview with Painter that I did. He talked about an additional day of travel as well. Now, I thought he said, and I need to go back and listen, but I thought he said that was going to be for all games. Is that all away games? Is that the case? Is that what he said, or is it just for the West Coast games?
I think he was just talking about cross country travel.
I mean, so I guess to elaborate for anyone who doesn't know what I mean is that they would basically get to whatever city they're playing at 2 days prior versus just 1 day prior, like they do now.
I wonder how far away Rutgers is from Washington.
So I saw there was a big debate on X about whether or not Russia was closer to Washington than Rutgers, and it is. So lots of people have way too much free time on their hands. But yes,
breaking news: Russia has joined the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Also, Rutgers is killing it kind of in the basketball recruiting game right now. They have the number 2 player in the 2024 class on their on their team or committed, and potentially the number 1 player as well. So
is that the player that took an IU visit?
Yes,
and did Rutgers post?
Oh,
yes.
What a troll, man, in the best
Wonderful.
way.
But on the subject of basketball, I know we're talking about Rutgers basketball, but just to talk about the scrimmage a little bit, obviously Zach Edey's playing with the Canadian national team. We didn't get to see him, but I was really, really encouraged by the short number of small amount of highlights that I saw. The main takeaway is it looked like we're looking to play with a little bit more pace. It looked like we were trying to score in transition pretty often, and when we weren't able to immediately score, we were looking to try to set just a high ball screen and let Braden go to work, which that was really, really cool. I'm really, I'm hyped up after seeing that, and especially to see all this without Zach Edey. But the other main takeaway that I took from the scrimmage was to see how good Trey Kaufman-Renn looked. There's been a lot of buzz about him. Raphael Davis has been tweeting about him, him potentially being an all Big Ten caliber player this season. There's chatter about him possibly starting at the 4. What do you guys think? Do you think Trey Kaufman-Renn takes the big leap this year, or what do you envision the starting lineup being I guess specifically in the front court.
Well, I don't know that the starting lineup matters a whole lot because Painter also talked about trying to split the three of their minutes and talking about Caleb First, Mason Gillis, and TKR. So, could he take over a larger role? Yes, but whose minutes does he take?
Yeah.
Well, word on the street is he will be taking the minutes from First and or Gillis. Word on the world of X.
Well, if they split three ways, he will take minutes for them right off the bat. Because TKR was closer to 10 minutes a game, and First and Gillis were closer to 20. So he'll naturally, if they're going to split the minutes three different ways, he's going to take minutes from the two of them. But
you guys, Dylan's taking his jacket off. It's getting serious in here.
A little toasty in this room.
Here's my hot take for this season. I think we see a slight reduction in Edey's minutes.
Ooh.
I think that I do honestly. I think that everyone knows what Zach Edey's going to do, and I think our kind of counterpunch or our hat trick is going to be what are we going to do without Zach Edey. So I think that we have a lot of versatility. I mean, think about a lineup with let's say Caleb First at the 5, TKR at the 4, Cam Heidi at the 3, maybe Colvin at the 3. Braden and Fletcher. I mean, that's a completely different lineup that you have to guard completely differently than when Zach Edey's in the game, or when Ethan Morton's in the game. So I don't know. I think that we see a slight reduction in Zach Edey's minutes, and what we see in return is a little bit more versatility.
Gotcha. Yeah, honestly, I have no clue. I'm like so focused on football that I can't even process anything basketball. I'm just like, yeah, we got Zach Edey. We're doing it this year. We're gonna.
The Canada jersey in the red is really weird. It really threw me off when I saw that today.
Yeah, it is. But I'm gonna go ahead and wrap us up here because we are, like a minute or an hour and 12 right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap us up. Again, big shout outs to our partnership with Big Banner. They just launched their new website, bigbannersports.com. So go check that out. They've got all the Big Ten teams on there. It did just start, so they will continue to add to the content as time goes on. There's going to be a lot of good stuff, especially during the football season. So make sure you check that out. Want to throw a big shout out to our sponsorship as well at Cincy Blitz Boards. Again, great product, great family game with family, friends, tailgates, hangouts, whatever it is. I mean, you can take your Blitz board anywhere, really. Super convenient to haul around. It's not too bad at all. So big shout out to them. Thank you guys for being here tonight, as always. Thank for everybody for tuning in, and boiler up, and hammer down, and what's up, Dylan?
And fantasy football. Just if you want to play some fantasy football with us, chop it up with us, message us at BXP_Russ or the pod account. Let us know. We'll get you in there.
Do it.
Absolutely.